Recently, I was talking to somebody on social media about this issue that those in the spiritual awakening paths and community have a reluctance to charge for their gifts. And this is something that I believe is actually a mistake. Not all the time. There is a process when you are first starting out, when you are apprenticing, when you are learning. It's natural and normal to do readings for your friends or to share your gifts with your family and to not expect anything for it. And over time, as you progress on your journey, you start to value the expertise that goes into it. You start to understand that it is a skill and you refine it and you work with it. So let's take these recordings, for example. I like to do a mix of channeling. And back in the day, I used to do tarot card reads for my friends and my family, and some of them would be hours long because it was very, very in-depth. I would lay out people's lifelines from the past and show them where certain lifelines would have gone if they chose door number 1 or door number 2. And then I would lay out the future timelines and give them a sort of wake-up call if they needed it. And I would use sometimes 3 to 5 decks, and it was somebody close to me called them a Lord of the Rings tarot card readings. And I put everything into it, so much so that after recording over a series of 2 or 3 days or a weekend, I would be completely wiped out energetically. And I never asked for anything, and I never expected anything. It was actually a genuine gift. I've even read for my mom a couple of times, and it's a joy. It's a pleasure to be able to do so. But my gifts have evolved over time, just as I'm sure yours has, because I have a lot of listeners who are pretty advanced on the journey and who have their own niches. And so when you think back to the beginning days of when you were starting out and you were excited to apply your skill or your gift in your particular niche, what you'll notice is that over time it evolves. And your relationship, at least this is my experience, your relationship with the divine, with the council, with the higher entities, the inter or extraterrestrial beings, whoever your lineup is, right? The relationship changes. And as it becomes more and more integrated into your daily life, you start to recognize that there are levels of using your gifts and applying them. And so it used to be that whenever I would do tarot card readings, I would take myself out of it entirely. And I would just be a clear conduit, a perfect channel, as perfect as I could. And to do this, I would have to meditate and get myself into a complete hypnotic trance to where there was no self, right? And then I could read the cards and tap into the person's energy and the person's lifeline. Now I can do it in a random taxi or an Uber car, and I can do it awake and then slip in and slip back out, slip in and slip back out. And what I have come to learn is that I don't need the cards like I used to. I used to actually need the cards. Now the cards are just symbolic representations. And now it is evolved to the point that I'm almost adverse to the cards. I don't like to use them anymore. I find them to be limiting, and I find that I can pull down what I need a lot quicker. And if I have blind spots, then I ask my guides to help me in my dreams or to help me in another way. Or, and this is what I want to talk to you about, I hire other readers. Because what I have come to appreciate, and perhaps you too, is that we are collectively creating reality. And while we are working on our gifts and harnessing our magic and expressing it in a variety of different ways, it's important to not lose sight of the fact that we are all creating and co-creating, and to not ever charge for our gifts, especially when we want to turn it into a lifestyle. So I have a vision of being a content creator and being very selective about my client work. So I only work with a couple of people at a time. And ideally, these are great matches of clients, and it's high impact work. And I work with people that are going to make a difference in the world. And I've been very, very lucky to have clients like that. And so if I were to say, I'm never charging for my gifts, then what does that mean? That I can't do this? That I have to work a regular 9 to 5? And what does that mean for you that wants financial freedom, that wants to be out of the cubicle, that never wants to set foot in a service industry job in their life again? And so when we think about creating with the world, and we think about the evolution of gifts and understanding that it's a practice, it is actually a dedicated practice. And now where I'm at is that I infuse my lessons and journey wisdom that I've gained along the way with channeled messages. And the concentration and skill that's required to do this is much more challenging than what I used to do. But it's energetically much more liberating because I can flow into it. All of these recordings are done in flow. And I receive messages as I'm talking, and then I filter them and share them with you. Sometimes after putting my own little spin on it, or my own little flavor, humor, personality, opinion. I put me into it. And the road to get here has been years in the making. And so now I value my gifts, and I see them almost as a gift back to me, because I am able to help people in really significant ways. I'm a destiny manager for some people, literally looking out for their destiny. I'm like on call. And we only talk like maybe once or twice a year, and there's no set rate. They pay me after they receive. Sometimes it's a 15 or 20 minute or 30-minute message, and they've been very, very generous. And so it has been, I've just been very well taken care of by them. I really appreciate them. I'd love to find more people like that. And so I feel as though that we need to change our perspective about these gifts, because it's a self-limiting belief that we have. Why is it that we're not entitled to receive material abundance if money is energy, and if where you pay attention to grows? Then how do we create a conscious society without charging for our gifts? If money is energy, and if we want to bring in more spirituality, consciousness, esoteric arts, then everybody should be charging for their gifts when it feels right. And I do believe that there is a way to do it with conscious capitalism in mind, to where it's not egregiously taking advantage of people or trying to grift people, or you know what I mean? Like, there's a way to represent it with honesty and integrity and authenticity and also self-respect, and to say, I don't want to work like a dog anymore. I don't want to work for pennies on the hour ever again in my life. And I want a lifestyle that feels good to me. I don't want to be sleeping in a cardboard box. What's wrong with Egyptian cotton sheets? What's wrong with, if that helps my energy, living in an art museum? If that helps your energy, to eat at 5-star restaurants and to have the culinary experience. What's wrong with luxury? Why has it been given such a demonized existence? Because we have people who have been unconscious that have made a ruckus out of everything. So why are we associating our practices with people that it's no comparison, right? And one of the other problems that I see is that a lot of people undercharge because they're just grateful to be able to charge, period. And that's one of the reasons that one of my favorite tarot readers, I actually almost doubled his rate last time because he does such a good job. And there's nobody like him. He's so interesting. He's so unique. Maybe I should give him a shout out. I don't know. It doesn't feel right in this moment. But anyway, he's just really, really special. And I believe that he doesn't resonate with a lot of people because he's so special. And so as a result, I believe that his confidence is struggling because he doesn't appreciate how much people like me appreciate him. And so that's why I wanted to pay him more than what he was asking for. And this is the philosophy behind this comment on social media that I had with this person, where I said, we are communicating with a manifestation engine all the time. And I said it more concisely than I'm about to say it here, but this is my little podcast, so I can expound it a little bit more because it's really important. When we think about this idea of reality creation and manifestation, two distinct principles, we are, in effect, always putting in an order with the universe. Always. And we are telling the universe through our buying power, the way that we spend our energy. In this case, currency. We tell the universe what we prioritize. And there's a lot of selfish people out there that don't care about anybody except for themselves. And that's okay. And the way that they spend money reflects that. And I'll just leave that there. But there's a ton of other people, myself, perhaps yourself included, that understand that we are taking care of people. We're actually taking care of people and lifting people up. We are contributing to somebody's well-being by how we spend money. It reminds me of how I didn't understand this for a really long time until I was in a place where the service and hospitality was not prioritized in the culture. I was traveling abroad. And there are just some areas of the world where service is above and beyond. And there are other parts of the world where you don't even get soap in your bathroom. Like when you're visiting, they don't give you soap. You're lucky to have one towel, and that's just the norm. And similarly, there's not, in places like that, an emphasis on fine dining. There's even some places where there aren't even restaurants, especially in the mountains or in rural parts of this particular part of the world. And so as a result, you're just left to your own, even if you're traveling through. And you don't appreciate the food, the culinary experience. Chefs are artists. And I love chefs because when they express themselves through food and serve it, it's edible art that creates this divine sensory experience that in some cases at the highest pinnacles is unforgettable, is so memorable that you will remember that meal for the rest of your life. And even if you don't remember all of the platings and the entire menu, you remember the experience. And so there's something very magical, in my personal opinion, about culinary arts and people who can take flavors and balance them with texture and riveting techniques and titillating menus and surprise tastings that take you on this entire journey. But there are parts of the world that don't value that at all. And so as a result, there are almost no restaurants and definitely no chefs, and therefore no experiences like that. And that's because they value other things. But when you go there, as somebody that has traveled the world, who enjoys experiences, like at some point, we all become a connoisseur of experience. And traveling becomes about curating those experiences and those memories. And so when you go to parts of the world that they don't emphasize hospitality or making a warm place for a traveler, they're like, here's a dirty rug for your feet. If you have a rug at all, it's wild. And so as a result, what happens is that you realize your buying power matters because it shapes the culture. It shapes the world around you and where you prioritize how to spend, who to spend, what to spend on. When you're unconscious, like I was for a long time, I never thought twice about it. I was just like, I want this gadget, I want this thing, I want these clothes, I want this house, I want this, I want that. And you don't think about the power of being a consumer, of investing in conscious businesses, investing in spiritual people. So the other part of this comment that I left was, in the manifestation engine communication, I now realize that I want a world where there are more people that are using their gifts. I want a world where it's commonplace to have readings, to have people on your on your Rolodex. It's so old-fashioned, but to have your favorite readers. I have an idea for a collective fund to help out new creators, but I have to bring that into fruition, and right now that's not my priority. But in essence, to foster the growth of communities, of a collective that prioritizes being able to explore these gifts, giving people artistic residencies, but in the spiritual arts and the esoteric arts. Because a world without you sharing your gifts and supporting yourself is a grim world indeed.